Hello, dear followers. Today I bring you a story of overcoming adversity that will touch your hearts and inspire you to never give up. In the vast universe of Latin American music, few voices have managed to transcend generations with the intensity and authenticity of Ana Gabriel. Her journey from extreme poverty to becoming the golden voice of Latin America represents one of the most powerful testimonies of human perseverance in the music industry. Before revealing the details of this extraordinary journey that has everyone concerned about her health, don't forget to subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications to stay updated on all the latest celebrity news. Maria Guadalupe Araujo Jong, known worldwide as Ana Gabriel, was born into a large family in Sinaloa, Mexico, where love was abundant but money was chronically scarce. She was one of 9 sisters who grew up in a home marked by simplicity and economic limitations, circumstances that forged her resilient character from an early age. Her mother, of Chinese origin, worked tirelessly to support the family, sacrificing her own well-being to ensure her daughters had what they needed to survive. On those warm Sinaloa nights, while other girls indulged in childhood games, young Maria already displayed an exceptional talent that did not go unnoticed. At the tender age of 6, her powerful and melodious voice amazed family gatherings, leaving everyone in awe of a vocal timbre unusually mature and strong for such a young girl. "Your voice is a gift, never waste it," her mother would constantly remind her, words that would be deeply etched in her heart and guide her future decisions. Economic limitations did not prevent Maria from pursuing her passion for music. The radio became her makeshift academy, as she spent hours meticulously memorizing every inflection, every nuance of the voices she admired. With extraordinary dedication, she studied vocal techniques and interpretive styles of great artists, absorbing knowledge that no formal school could have provided under her circumstances. That dreamy-eyed girl with a prodigious voice carried within her the seed of greatness, though she could not have imagined then that she would become one of the most iconic figures in Latin American music. Her humble origins, far from limiting her potential, cultivated in her a unique artistic sensitivity that would later allow her to deeply connect with millions through her emotionally charged and authentic performances. Ana Gabriel's adolescence was marked by sacrifices that far exceeded what any young person should have to endure. Poverty was not just an abstract socioeconomic condition, but a cruel and tangible reality that tested her determination every day. To contribute to the family's finances and keep her musical dream alive, she worked grueling shifts in factories where her delicate hands became rough and calloused from constant exposure to chemicals and industrial machinery. The cycle of work seemed endless and merciless. After finishing her exhausting factory shift, Ana did not have the privilege of rest. She would head straight to the homes of wealthy families, where she worked as a domestic employee until late at night. She cleaned floors, washed mountains of other people's laundry, and ironed without pause, while melodies echoed in her mind, and the flame of a dream that refused to die burned in her heart. Days off were a foreign concept in her reality. She worked tirelessly, driven by economic necessity and responsibility toward her family. The contrast between her reality and her dream was heart-wrenching. While cleaning the luxurious mansions of the privileged, she imagined what her life would be like if she ever managed to stand before a microphone on a grand stage. Her aching body after long hours of physical labor was a constant reminder of the uphill battle she had chosen, but Ana possessed an inner strength that surpassed any physical pain. "My voice is all I have," she would firmly reply when her worried mother asked why she kept trying. Without the financial resources to fund a record, Ana resorted to unconventional methods to get closer to her goal. She boarded crowded buses to sing to passengers, facing everything from indifference to outright rejection. Some irritated passengers would tell her to be quiet, while others tossed her a few coins out of pity rather than recognition of her talent. Every penny earned was carefully stored in a small tin she hid under her bed, counting her savings each night and watching them grow painfully slowly. The sacrifices reached extremes that reveal the depth of her commitment. There were periods when she ate only once a day to maximize her savings, making hunger a constant companion on her journey. Anna sacrificed basic needs like proper nutrition, always thinking of the future, of the record she would someday make. She spent countless nights crying herself to sleep, questioning whether her dream justified so much suffering, whether the path she had chosen was too steep, too painful for any human being. Though Anna Gabriel's nights often ended in tears of doubt and despair, each dawn brought with it a renewed determination that seems almost inexplicable from a purely rational perspective. The rising sun seemed to infuse her with new energy and an unshakable optimism that defied the objective circumstances of her life. She would rise religiously before dawn, wash her face with cold water to fully wake herself, and mentally prepare for another day of relentless struggle. This daily resilience did not go unnoticed by those around her, though it was rarely understood. The neighbors, steeped in a conformist mindset, insisted that she should accept her place in life and abandon dreams they considered unattainable for someone of her social standing. Well-meaning but limited friends often suggested she take a more conventional path, find a husband, start a family, and settle for an ordinary existence. Why suffer so much for something that might never happen? They would ask, unable to see what she envisioned with absolute clarity. Anna Gabriel, however, carried within her a personal vision so powerful that no external influence could overshadow it. She continued to sing with passion and absolute dedication, even when her audience consisted of indifferent or openly hostile spectators. This ironclad determination was not only shaping her professional future, but also sculpting an exceptional character that would later be reflected in every note of her performances and the message of her songs. The period of extreme trials and hardships she endured in her youth acted as a crucible where not only her artistic talent, but also her life philosophy were refined. Anna learned to deeply value every small opportunity that came her way, to extract valuable lessons from every failure, and to never give up in the face of circumstances that seemed destined to defeat her. Her ability to transform pain into motivation and material lack into spiritual wealth would later become one of the most distinctive features of her artistic expression. That girl who sang on the noisy, crowded buses of Mexico carried within her an inner strength that would eventually catapult her to international stages. The seed of greatness planted in her childhood was beginning to sprout, paradoxically nurtured by the very difficulties that threatened to suffocate her. Anna Gabriel was proving, day after day, that true determination can flourish even in the most arid and hostile terrains of human existence. After years of meticulous saving, extreme deprivation, and exhausting work, Anna Gabriel finally managed to accumulate enough money to secure a meeting with a renowned music producer. This opportunity represented the crystallization of countless sacrifices and the potential turning point in her career. She prepared diligently. She rehearsed for weeks, carefully selected her best outfit, and gathered all her courage to face this decisive moment as the best version of herself. The producer listened to her performance and, immediately recognizing her extraordinary vocal talent, offered her the chance to record an album. "You have talent. We can record your album tomorrow," he said with a smile that Anna initially interpreted as professional approval. The overwhelming joy she felt in that moment was indescribable, but fleeting. The professional offer was followed by a devastating condition: sexual favors in exchange for the opportunity. Anna's response was firm and revealing of her unshakable principles. "I would rather never record an album than sell my dignity," she replied, leaving the office with her head held high, but her heart shattered. This painful episode, far from being an isolated experience, turned out to be just the first in a series of similar encounters that exposed the darkest and most predatory side of the music industry. Other producers, other men in positions of power, presented equally indecent proposals, as if her talent were secondary to her physical appearance. "You are too beautiful to waste so much talent," they would tell her with fake smiles and looks that made her feel deeply violated, reduced to a sexual object rather than valued as the authentic artist she was. While Anna remained steadfast in her ethical principles, she watched with a mix of sadness and frustration as other artists with less talent but willing to compromise their values rose quickly in the industry. She saw their faces in magazines and on TV shows, recognizing figures she had met in the same record label hallways where she had been rejected for refusing to pay an unacceptable price. Hearing their songs on the radio was a cruel and constant reminder of the corrupt system that dominated the world she so desperately wanted to belong to. Despite the pressures and well-meaning suggestions from friends who advised her to be more flexible in the face of indecent proposals, arguing that this is how the world works, Anna Gabriel remained unwavering in her ethical stance. She chose the longer, harder path, singing in small bars, family gatherings, and community events where her talent was appreciated without degrading conditions. Each rejection of inappropriate offers closed immediate doors, but preserved her personal and artistic integrity intact, a value that would later become one of the cornerstones of her career and message. In 1987, after years of systematically closed doors and denied opportunities due to her refusal to compromise her principles, Anna Gabriel made a decision that would definitively change the course of her life. She gathered all her savings and, in an extraordinary act of bravery bordering on recklessness, traveled to Portugal to participate in the prestigious ODI festival. This gamble represented her last card, her final opportunity before perhaps giving up entirely in the face of a system that seemed determined to reject her. The journey to Portugal was filled with symbolism and difficulties. Anna traveled completely alone, no manager, no technical team, no sponsors, with just a simple suitcase and a heart overflowing with hope. The contrast with the other festival participants was painfully evident. While they arrived with large entourages, elaborate wardrobes, and substantial financial backing, she showed up in her nicest dress, which still looked visibly modest in comparison. The difference in material resources was overwhelming, but Anna knew her true strength lay in her voice and the emotional authenticity of her performances. During the rehearsals leading up to the festival, she faced skepticism and even open mockery from other participants and sound technicians. Her raspy, powerful voice, so different from the sweet and soft standard that dominated female singers of the time, was seen by many as a flaw that needed correction. The technicians persistently tried to modify her vocal style, suggestions Anna firmly rejected. "This is how I sing. It's who I am." This defense of her artistic identity, in a moment of extreme vulnerability and pressure, demonstrates the clarity with which Anna Gabriel understood the value of authenticity, even when everyone around her questioned it. On the night of the performance, as she waited backstage, nervousness threatened to paralyze her. Her hands were sweating profusely, her heart was racing, and doubts flooded her mind. Would they understand her style? Would they appreciate her music? Had all the sacrifices been worth it to get here? In those critical moments, she remembered her entire journey: the poverty, the exhausting work, the humiliations, the closed doors. "This is my moment," she told herself with determination. "I won't waste it." When the host finally announced her name and Anna Gabriel walked to the center of the stage, the unexpected happened. Her performance, charged with an authenticity impossible to fake, deeply moved an initially skeptical audience. That flaw so many had wanted to correct instantly became her trademark, the trait that set her apart from all other singers. The audience, initially cold, completely surrendered to the power and sincerity of her voice. That night changed everything. Contract offers poured in, previously closed doors began to open, and Anna Gabriel emerged as a star in her own right in the Latin American music scene, proving that authenticity, when defended with absolute conviction, ultimately gets recognized and valued. Between 1990 and 1993, as her music career finally took off after so many years of struggle, Anna Gabriel was simultaneously fighting an intensely personal and painful battle away from the spotlight. Her deep desire to become a mother led her to undergo rigorous fertility treatments, representing another kind of sacrifice, this time not linked to her career, but to her personal fulfillment as a woman. In the solitude of anonymous hotel rooms around the world, during the brief intervals between performances in front of adoring crowds, Anna would diligently administer daily hormone injections with unwavering discipline. These treatments left visible marks on her skin, but the emotional scars accumulating inside her were infinitely deeper. The constant oscillation between renewed hope at the start of each cycle and devastating sadness with each negative result created extraordinary psychological strain that few of her fans could even imagine. "Why do you keep trying?" the doctors would ask, genuinely concerned for her physical and emotional well-being given the increasingly aggressive treatments. "Because I need to be sure I tried absolutely everything within my power," she would respond with a determination that reflected the same tenacity that had sustained her in her fight for artistic recognition. This answer revealed a fundamental aspect of her personality, the inability to give up in the face of any adversity without exhausting every last possibility. The hormone injections caused devastating side effects that she heroically struggled to hide from the public. She experienced visible swelling, radical mood swings, intense nausea, and episodes of vomiting just before going on stage. With admirable professionalism, she would transform her pained face into a radiant smile the moment she stepped on stage, as if nothing were wrong. For 3 full years, she was trapped in this cruel cycle, sacrificing her physical well-being for the sake of a dream of motherhood that seemed to slip further away with each failed attempt. At the end of the 3rd year of intensive treatments without positive results, an experienced doctor took her hands with compassion and delivered the painful truth. "Anna, your body is sending a clear message that it's not possible. It's time to accept it." That night, completely alone in the anonymity of yet another hotel room, she finally allowed herself to release the pain accumulated over years, crying inconsolably as never before. The emotional wound of knowing she would never experience biological motherhood became a permanent scar on her soul, a void that even the applause of packed stadiums could never fill. The woman capable of moving millions with her voice would never hear a child call her mom. After decades of extreme demands, continuous sacrifices, and chronic stress, Anna Gabriel's physical body began to show unmistakable signs of where that could no longer be ignored. The first alarming symptom was chronic insomnia that insidiously crept into her life. What began as occasional and seemingly unrelated episodes of sleepless nights gradually evolved into a permanent condition that significantly altered her quality of life. Night after night, Anna Gabriel would lie awake with her eyes fixed on the ceiling of her room, while her relentless mind obsessively replayed song lyrics, everyday worries, and old memories that refused to give her respite. This is completely normal when you're starting out in the music industry, people around her would assure her, trying to downplay a problem that was becoming increasingly evident. However, as the years passed, the much-needed restorative sleep simply did not come, no matter how physically exhausted she was. Various specialists prescribed sleep-inducing medications, but Anna showed significant resistance to using them due to a well-founded fear of developing dependency. This concern reflected a deep awareness of her long-term health, even as the immediate pressures of her career demanded quick solutions. On the rare occasions when she managed to fall asleep with pharmaceutical intervention, it was fragmented and unsatisfying, far from the deep rest her exhausted body urgently needed. The consequences of chronic insomnia became impossible to hide, even under the professional makeup she used for her performances. The concerned looks from her close team reflected what the mirrors showed her mercilessly: deep, dark circles under her eyes, an abnormal pallor that had replaced the healthy tone of her skin, and unmistakable signs of extreme fatigue that no cosmetic could completely conceal. High blood pressure later joined the list of physical ailments, manifesting silently but potentially lethally. During a routine medical checkup, the alarmed expression on the doctor's face as he measured her blood pressure confirmed the gravity of the situation. "Anna, this is at a dangerously high level. We need to treat it immediately." This diagnosis added another layer of complications: mandatory daily medication, constant monitoring, and radical changes to her lifestyle. Small daily pleasures like enjoying a cup of coffee, savoring salty meals, or consuming fatty foods had to be drastically reduced or eliminated entirely from her diet, adding new restrictions to a life already full of professional limitations. In 2019, during an especially demanding tour, Anna Gabriel made the mistake that so many artists obsessed with pleasing their audiences have made before. She ignored the warning signs her body was persistently sending her. A persistent cough, which she initially attributed to the air conditioning in the hotels where she stayed, was treated as a minor annoyance that could be silenced with over-the-counter medications so she could continue her professional schedule without interruptions. "The show must go on," she repeated to herself like a mantra, as she took syrups and painkillers that masked the symptoms but allowed the illness to silently advance in her body. This attitude reflected both her legendary work ethic and an almost maternal concern for not disappointing the fans who had bought tickets to see her, often making significant financial sacrifices. The constant prioritization of others' needs over her own well-being had been a constant in her life, from the days when she worked tirelessly to help her family to her rise as an international star. The situation reached a critical point after a particularly demanding performance in Miami, when a devastating fever hit her like a speeding train. Her body temperature rose alarmingly, 38 degrees, then 39, until it reached the dangerous 40 degrees Celsius, a clear sign of a serious infection requiring immediate medical attention. Yet, true to her stoic nature and her historical resistance to showing vulnerability, Anna Gabriel resisted seeking professional help, perhaps underestimating the severity of her condition or refusing to accept the possibility of canceling upcoming commitments. The gravity of the situation became dramatically evident when Anna Gabriel lost consciousness, collapsing alone in her hotel room. It was a hotel maid who found her unconscious on the floor, in a critical state requiring urgent medical intervention. This providential discovery likely saved her life, as further delay in receiving medical attention could have been fatal. Rushed to the hospital, doctors quickly diagnosed her with severe pneumonia and significant lung involvement that seriously compromised her breathing. Anna Gabriel's condition was so critical that she required immediate hospitalization in the intensive care unit, where she remained for 3 days on assisted breathing machines. The doctors spoke in hushed tones near her bed, their expressions revealing the severity of the case and the uncertainty about her recovery. Meanwhile, news of her hospitalization spread like wildfire among her fans, who responded with an extraordinary outpouring of love. They gathered outside the hospital in vigils, lit candles, and sang her most emblematic songs as a way to send her positive energy and emotional support during her battle with the illness. "I thought it was the end," Anna Gabriel would later confess with tears in her eyes as she recalled those critical moments. "I saw my whole life flash before me like a movie on fast forward. I remembered my family, the important moments of my career, and all the things I still wanted to do." This direct confrontation with mortality marked a turning point in her outlook on life and her relationship with self-care, forcing her to reconsider priorities she had systematically neglected during decades of her career. In 2022, after more than 4 decades of intensive professional use of her voice, Anna Gabriel faced what for any singer represents the ultimate nightmare. During a routine rehearsal before an important concert, her voice abruptly failed in the middle of a song. This wasn't the usual vocal fatigue that any singer occasionally experiences. It was something deeply alarming, which she, with her vast experience, immediately recognized as potentially devastating for her career. Several otolaryngologists and voice specialists confirmed what Anna Gabriel had feared. The long years of constant and intensive use of her vocal instrument had caused significant structural damage to her vocal cords. The question she asked the lead doctor revealed her deepest concern and the exact dimension of what was at stake. "How much longer do I have to keep singing professionally?" The specialist's answer, honest yet unsettling, made the gravity of the situation clear. "That depends entirely on you and the extreme care you take from now on. Without an extraordinarily rigorous and disciplined care regimen, you'll only have a few more years at most to continue singing professionally." This news hit Anna Gabriel with devastating force, perhaps comparable only to the pain she experienced when she gave up on the possibility of motherhood. For an artist whose personal and professional identity is inextricably tied to her voice, the prospect of losing it represents a form of symbolic death, an amputation of the element that defines her essence and her connection to the world. Her unique voice was not simply a work tool or a source of income. It was the most authentic expression of her being, the channel through which she shared her story, her emotions, and her vision of life with millions of people. From that diagnosis onward, Anna Gabriel's daily life transformed radically, completely subordinated to the preservation of her vocal instrument. Every live performance now depended on an almost monastic routine of preparation and care. She dedicated 2 full hours every morning exclusively to specific vocal exercises recommended by specialists. She maintained absolute silence in the days leading up to her concerts, communicating only through written notes or text messages with her team and close friends. The restrictions on her lifestyle multiplied exponentially. Air humidifiers became essential in every room she stayed in to maintain optimal hydration for her vocal cords. The list of forbidden foods in her diet grew to include practically all small daily pleasures: dairy in any form, citrus fruits, caffeinated drinks, chocolate, and numerous other foods that could have even the slightest negative impact on her voice. The voice specialist overseeing her vocal health became a more decisive figure in her daily life than her own manager or music producer. Every high note hit during a performance now represented a small personal victory to be celebrated privately, while any sign of hoarseness, no matter how slight, immediately became a cause for panic and intense worry. It's like having a Stradivarius violin, one of the most valuable and rare instruments in the world, hidden inside my throat, Anna Gabriel explained to a journalist, using a metaphor that perfectly illustrated her situation. An extremely valuable and special instrument, but one that can unfortunately break or be permanently damaged at any moment if I don't take all the necessary precautions. April 2016 began like any other month in Anna Gabriel's hectic professional life, with a calendar full of international commitments keeping her in constant motion. However, a phone call in the early hours of the morning would drastically change the course of her life. Her sister, her voice breaking with tears, delivered the news every child fears. Their mother, Isabel, was gravely ill, and the doctors predicted she had only a few weeks left to live. The relationship between Anna Gabriel and her mother represented one of the fundamental pillars in the artist's life. Isabel had not simply been the woman who gave her life. She was also her first and most fervent admirer, the one who believed in her talent when no one else did. During the cold nights in Sinaloa, when hunger and poverty loomed over the family, it was Isabel who encouraged her to keep singing, convinced that her daughter's gift would one day be recognized worldwide. "Your voice is not an accident. It's a gift you must share with the world," she would constantly remind her, planting the unshakable determination that would characterize her entire artistic career. The dilemma Anna Gabriel faced at that moment once again revealed the cruelty of the decisions international artists must make. Cancel a tour with million-dollar contracts and tens of thousands of tickets sold, or try to be present during her mother's final days. With a broken heart but aware of her professional responsibilities, Anna made the painful decision to continue her tour, scheduling lightning-fast trips between concerts to visit her mother in the hospital. This decision, though understandable from a professional perspective, would later become an endless source of guilt and remorse. In the weeks that followed, Anna Gabriel lived a life divided between two irreconcilable worlds. At night, under the spotlight, she performed songs of love and heartbreak for ecstatic crowds who were completely unaware of the personal drama she was enduring. In the mornings, physically and emotionally exhausted, she took intercontinental flights to spend a few hours at her mother's deathbed, holding her increasingly fragile hand and reminiscing about better times. "Mom, everything I am, I owe to you," she whispered with tears in her eyes, while Isabel, too weak to speak, responded with faint squeezes of her hand and looks filled with unconditional love that transcended words. The inevitable end came one night in May, precisely while Anna Gabriel was on stage during a concert in Buenos Aires. The news was discreetly communicated to her by her personal assistant as soon as the show ended, triggering an emotional collapse that required immediate medical attention. The image of Anna Gabriel, that indomitable force of nature, reduced to a sea of inconsolable tears in a dressing room while thousands of fans waited for a scheduled meet and greet, represented perhaps the most vulnerable moment of her public life. The desperate flight to Mexico for the funeral, the insensitive journalists lurking for a photo of her grief, and the crushing guilt of not being present at the final moment formed a traumatic experience she would never fully share with the public, but which would deeply mark her relationship with life, death, and the meaning of true success. Few aspects of Anna Gabriel's life have remained as consistently hidden from the public eye as her tireless humanitarian work and her commitment to various social causes. Unlike other artists who strategically use their philanthropic activities as public relations tools, Anna Gabriel has maintained almost absolute silence about the countless lives she has touched through her generosity, demonstrating that her commitment stems from deep convictions rather than media calculations. This deliberate discretion has deep roots in her personal philosophy. True altruism is practiced in silence. She commented on one rare occasion when she agreed to briefly discuss the topic with a trusted journalist. When you help someone and announce it to the world, you're seeking applause for yourself, not solutions for those who are suffering. This perspective, shaped during her years of extreme poverty, reflects an authentic understanding of human dignity and the complexities of public charity, especially when it comes from figures with significant media power. Close collaborators of Anna Gabriel, those few privileged to witness her humanitarian work firsthand, describe a consistent pattern over decades. Unannounced visits to pediatric hospitals after concerts, when she is physically exhausted but emotionally available for children facing devastating health battles. Substantial donations for the reconstruction of communities affected by natural disasters, always under strict conditions of anonymity, and a personal scholarship program that is fully funded the university education of hundreds of talented young people from disadvantaged socioeconomic backgrounds in Mexico, the United States, and various Latin American countries. Particularly significant has been her commitment to indigenous Mexican communities, a deeply personal issue for her due to her own mixed ethnic roots. Anna Gabriel has dedicated considerable resources to the preservation of endangered indigenous languages, funding bilingual educational programs in remote regions where access to quality education is an unattainable luxury for most. Our identity as Latin Americans is inextricably linked to our indigenous roots, she explained on one of the rare occasions she addressed this topic publicly. Losing these languages is like losing entire libraries of ancestral knowledge, unique perspectives on life and nature that the modern world desperately needs to recover. The consistency of her social commitment has transcended media trends and public attention cycles. While numerous celebrities adopt and abandon causes according to passing fads, Anna Gabriel has maintained unwavering support for the same projects for decades, creating sustainable and structural impacts rather than superficial interventions. This quiet persistence, this determination to create meaningful change without media fanfare, represents perhaps the purest expression of the character forged during those years of extreme struggle in her youth, a visceral understanding that true change requires long-term commitment, not occasional symbolic gestures motivated by guilt or social pressure. Anna Gabriel's impact on Latin American music far transcends the conventional concept of commercial success or public recognition. Her influence manifests as a multi-generational cultural phenomenon that has deeply permeated the musical fabric of multiple countries, establishing interpretive paradigms that continue to define standards of vocal excellence for new artists emerging in the contemporary music scene. The uniqueness of her legacy lies partly in the extraordinary versatility she has demonstrated throughout her career. Unlike numerous artists who become pigeonholed into specific genres, Anna Gabriel has fluidly navigated traditional mariachi, romantic ballads, rancheras, Latin pop, and boleros, captivating diverse audiences with an interpretive authenticity that transcends genre limitations. This exceptional ability to embrace different styles without losing her distinctive identity has significantly expanded the horizons of Latin American music, demonstrating the artistic possibilities of musical hybridization when done with deep respect for original traditions. Particularly revolutionary has been her contribution to redefining gender roles in Latin American music. When Anna Gabriel emerged on the music scene, there were rigidly defined expectations about how women should present and behave in genres traditionally dominated by men, such as ranchera and mariachi. Her outright refusal to adopt a hyper-feminine image to meet commercial expectations, her intensely emotional yet unaffected interpretive style, and her determination to lyrically address themes traditionally reserved for male voices represented acts of cultural subversion that paved the way for entire generations of female artists who followed in her footsteps. Scholars specializing in Latin American musicology have identified the Ana Gabriel effect in multiple generations of singers who emerged afterward. Artists like Jenny Rivera, Edith Marquez, and Paquita La del Barrio have explicitly acknowledged her transformative influence, but her impact extends even to singers operating in seemingly distant genres like contemporary pop or urban music. The emotional intensity, interpretive authenticity, and rejection of limiting stereotypes that characterized her career continue to inspire new generations, even as these young artists participate in radically different musical contexts. Her unmistakable voice has become the emotional soundtrack of crucial moments in the lives of millions of Latin Americans across decades. From weddings and celebrations to funerals and moments of collective mourning, her songs accompany the most significant life rituals of entire communities. This deep-rooted connection to collective experience explains why her music continues to resonate powerfully with new generations who were not alive when she achieved her first successes. It is not simply about nostalgia or historical value, but about the extraordinary ability of her interpretations to communicate universal emotional truths that transcend specific cultural contexts and particular historical moments. Ana Gabriel's life embodies the very definition of overcoming adversity and unwavering resilience. From her humble beginnings in Sinaloa to becoming the golden voice of Latin America, her journey reminds us that exceptional talent, when accompanied by firm principles and absolute determination, can triumph even in the face of the most daunting obstacles. Her contributions transcend music to become a legacy of authenticity, strength, and social commitment that will continue to inspire entire generations. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel to learn more stories of triumph like this one, and let us know in the comments which other artists you'd like us to explore in depth. If you enjoyed Ana Gabriel's story, be sure to watch our video about other great Latin American voices that's on screen right now.